All right, Caleb, what's your first pick, sir? And keep track of these because I believe that you were like 2-3 last week.
Oh, I'm not going to run. I was 0-5 on my best bets of the week last week, and I was 15-18 overall. And for a reminder, I pick every SEC and top 25 game, which this week all the top 25 games happen to be SEC games. Then whatever games I choose for the 5 best bets of the week, 2 spreads, 2 over-unders, and a money line upset pick that I think you could get rich off of. There are 3 SEC games that have no spreads this week: Vanderbilt, Alcorn State, Sanford, Florida, and Texas A&M, Nichols. So I'm throwing those out. There's one SEC opener, which gives us 12 SEC games to pick.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I have 2 extra ones on the best bet. So 14 games overall. So let's get it rolling. And we start with a big one, Michigan and Texas. Dave, everybody's picking Texas to cover. I think it's Texas favored by 7.5. I think Michigan covers. I think it's Michigan plus 7.5, and I'm taking the under 42.5. I think Michigan just makes this a really ugly game.
Well, they got a really good defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, at Michigan. I love his name because he used to be a game show host. This is like a second life for Wink, I believe. But I'm going to disagree.
That's crazy.
I'm going to stick with my belief that Michigan is on its way down, and you're going to start to see that this season without Jim Harbaugh. Caleb?
All righty. Next, Arkansas at Oklahoma State. 2 weeks ago, I would have had Oklahoma State covering the 7.5 point spread. However, Oklahoma State looked hideous in their opener, and Arkansas looked darn good. They both played really bad schools, but given how bad Oklahoma State played, I got Arkansas plus 7.5, and I got the under 62.5. I think Mike Gundy's offense is going to look a little sloppy, and Arkansas may make this interesting.
No,
that's crazy.
No, I think they'll run away from it. I think that was a one-game wonder. All right, what's next?
All right, disagree with me already. All right, Georgia, Tennessee Tech. You're going to love this. Georgia's favored by 53.5, but the over-under set at 62.5. I think Georgia covers, but the game hits the under. I actually think that's what's going to happen.
Hey now.
I think that could happen. Yeah, I'll go with you on that.
Auburn and Cal. I got Auburn covering the 13 against Cal, and I got the over 53.5. I think Auburn's offense really hits it off, and I think Justin Wilcox is kind of falling apart at Cal.
Agreed with the latter. Where is that game?
That game is at Auburn.
Okay.
Hey now.
I'll go with you on that. Tough place to play. Cal doesn't play in a place like that.
Exactly. All right, now this is my guaranteed cover of the week. All right, you ready? Kentucky, South Carolina, take the under 42.5, but my best bet cover, Kentucky's covering the 8.5 point spread. I don't think South Carolina's dropping 4 points.
You know, there was a time when I would have never said Kentucky take a spread with them favored by more than 3 or 4 points, right? But you're right on this one.
Hey now.
South Carolina's falling apart.
They're horrible, guys. They're a terrible program.
Yep. All right, who's next?
Next, Ole Miss versus MTSU. Over under 62.5. Ole Miss is covering.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is covering. Yeah. And I'm going to actually take the under because I think Lane Kiffin will be a little bit nicer than he was last week from the 62.5.
That's crazy.
No way. All right.
He's going all in.
Yeah, he's going to cover and thump him because rightly so. He's thinking that margin of victory isn't supposed to be a part of this, but style points matter. So he needs to imagine at the end of the year, because he's already beaten Furman by 70 plus. If you say, well, that team beat 3 teams this year by 70 plus. I mean, that would carry some weight, right? I mean, you and I know it's MTSU and Furman, but it would carry some weight. So I think he's going to try to run it up. What do you got?
All righty. Well, the question, though, is the under would MTSU score enough for it to get over 62.5? But you think Lane Kiffin himself can get over 62.5?
Yes.
Against MTSU. All right. Impressive. All right. So here's my second best bet of the week, and it's an over. All right. It's an over. And it's South Florida at Alabama. I'm going over 63.5. Alex Golish is going to put up points. He's got the offense rolling. I saw enough from Jalen Milroe last week to think they can score against South Florida's defense. So I've got, I think South Florida, Alabama, the combined score goes over 63.5. I think that's points galore.
I think that's your best pick to this point.
That's hot.
Yep. Go ahead.
And the other part is South Florida, I think, covers the 31-point spread. I think they lose by less than 31.
I would agree with that.
All right. Next, Missouri and Buffalo. I got Missouri covering the 34.5 point spread, and I got the over 51.5.
Eh,
They're like, that is total bullshit.
I'm still on Missouri. I'm gonna disagree.
I
I mean, I don't gamble, so I can make picks just based off my heart, right?
That is true. You're
I
right.
say I'm a Cowboys fan, but I root for guys I covered as much as anything.
I understand that. All right, so LSU and Nichols. Look, it's an irrelevant game, and that's when Brian Kelly's at his best. So I actually think they will cover the 51.5 point spread, and I think the game will hit the over 61.5. I think LSU is going to drop like 60 points on their own in this one.
Especially after what happened last week, he absolutely needs to. So I think that I think Brian Kelly's going to be very cognizant of the fan base, which I bet's been brutal this week.
Hey now.
Agreed.
All right, so I'll two more of my best bets. Then I'll close with Tennessee and NC State. All right, so Oklahoma and Houston. Houston just lost to UNLV. As much as I don't believe in Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma covers that 28-point spread. I think the game hits the under because Houston doesn't score enough. It's under 49.5, but I think Oklahoma covers the 28 easily.
I would agree with that, and I think that people are going to continue to be fooled by Oklahoma and what they did last year. I don't think that's a very good football team. I think they have a very difficult schedule, and I don't think they're one of the true contenders in the SEC in the college football playoff based off their roster. They can prove me wrong, but this week's not going to do it. But I do agree with your pick.
Hey now.
All right, and then y'all know the team I've been highest on this year is the sleeper team. I picked them to cover last week, and I picked the game to hit the over because of their offense, and I did hit on both of those, but that is Mississippi State at Arizona State. I'm Mississippi State plus 5.5. And I'm for the over 58.5 with that Jeff Levy offense, Dave. And this is my best bets of the week. I'm taking Mississippi State outright. I like the money line. I think Mississippi State upsets Arizona State.
All right. So how much would you win if you got the money line?
Where is the money line at right now? I got to pull that up actually real quick. But either way, it's not showing in the moment. All right, I'll get back to you guys on that. But that's my upset payout.
Right. Are we down to Tennessee?
Two more best bets and then get to Tennessee, which is, so I named those three. Now two other ones. Iowa State and Iowa, the under 35.5. Put everything on the under 35.5. That game's not going to go over 35.5.
Agreed with that.
And then the last one, my team that covers as an underdog, I got Colorado plus 7 at Nebraska. I know people think Nebraska's going to blow them out and Colorado's dysfunctional, but I don't think Shedeur Sanders will let them lose by more than a touchdown at Nebraska.
I would agree with that too. And watch for Travis Hunter to get some Heisman talk. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but watch for that because he only touched the ball like 6 times last week and scored 3 touchdowns, and he's a lockdown corner. So, all right, let's go ahead and get that Tennessee pick right now. I'm sticking with my pick of 56-17. I probably would make that a little bit closer, but I do think Tennessee easily covers. I just get the feeling from interviewing Cooper Mays, and I would encourage you to check that out, that he has sincere respect for NC State's defensive front. So I think it's going to be a little bit closer, but I want to put my picks out on Thursday so you have the chance to digest it. So 56-17, I will stick with that, Caleb. But if I did redo it, it wouldn't be vastly different. It would be about 42-17, somewhere in there. How about you?
Okay, so I'll say this for Tennessee. I trust the odds makers in Vegas a lot of times. If a line moves a point or two in the middle of the week, I would say, okay, that's because a lot of people are betting on one side, so they're trying to even it out. If a line moves 2 points in 24 hours and then moves 5 points within the week, that's the odds maker saying we really screwed up this line and we really need to move in favor of this other team because we really didn't give them the respect they deserve. Vegas set this line heading into last week at 4.5. They opened it at 5.5. They moved it to 7.5 in less than a day, and now they've moved it all the way up to 10 in favor of Tennessee. That's not Tennessee betting. That's Vegas saying we really screwed up. We're not giving Tennessee the respect they deserve. Let's try to offset that a little bit. And they've moved it insanely.
What do our viewers say on the poll question? You're right. I mean, I bet I would go out on a limb and say only a dozen lines move 5 points in college football over the course of the entire season. Would you argue with that?
I would say less than that. I'm going to be honest. I've covered a lot of gambling. I've never seen a line move 5 points in a week ever.
But there are 150 teams, so we're not keeping tabs on all of them.
You're right.
150 games, or there would be. Well, there's 100 and. Well, they don't do the division. Anyway, I'm sure it happens a couple times a year, but no, this is it's either show now, devil's advocate. It could also just show that Tennessee's fan base has a gambling problem, and they've moved them.
But that moves a line a couple of points in a week. That doesn't move a line 5 points. If a line moves like this, then that's odds makers realizing they need to reset something. And so, and by the way, our poll question agrees. They say Tennessee is going to win and cover 94%. 4% says win but not cover. 2% says lose. Somebody predicted they will lose. So I'm going to trust Vegas. I'm going to say Tennessee covers the 10-point spread. They cover it fairly comfortably. And I'm going to say they cover it with their offense. I'm going to say the game goes over 60.5. One thing I misspoke about earlier with NC State's 3-3-5 defense, it's not the same as Iowa's in the sense that they do run a lot of different blitz packages. So I think there's going to be a lot more middle of the field balls open this week. And guys, we just saw what Nico Iamaleava can do with that.
Agreed.